Good morning, students. Till now, we have done various heads and subsets of your financial statement. I hope you have understand what are the different things that comes under different heads. Like what are the things that comes under shareholder funds? What are the things that comes under non-current liabilities, current liabilities? What is the meaning of tangible assets, intangible assets, long-term investments? All we have done till now through various illustrations, and I have given you some explanations also regarding that. Now, in this illustration, illustration number 18, we have to understand how to draft the complete balance sheet. Instead of dividing it into different heads and subheads, now we have to understand how to draw a complete balance sheet with the help of a given question. Now, what you have to do, students? What is your first step? The first step is to draft the balance sheet without putting any figures. Simply, you have to draw or you have to draft the balance sheet as it is given in the schedule 3rd of the Companies Act, and I have already sent you the format of the same. Just ignore all the figures because usually this question is of 12 marks, and the drafting of the balance sheet and the putting only heads and subheads, even without putting a single figure, will give you at least 5 marks out of 12. So heading, subheading, a complete format, a proper format is very necessary while attempting this type of question. Just see, I have done for you. What you have to do, without putting any figure initially, you have to draft the balance sheet. Look at, first of all, what you have to do. You have to write Nishant Company Limited. This is the name of the firm. Then balance sheet as at date is too much essential, very much essential. Now, see the draft, particulars, note number, amount and amount. 2 columns amount, sometimes previous year's amount has been given to you. So in that case only you have to put that amount, otherwise leave it blank. Now, put it like this: equity and liabilities, shareholder funds, under shareholder funds, share capital, reserves and surplus, money received against share warrant. Second main heading, share application, money pending allotment. Third main heading, non-current liabilities. Under this, 3 subheadings: long-term borrowings, other long-term borrowings, and long-term provisions. Here the tax liability has not been given in the question, that's why I'm not putting that heading. See, non-current liabilities, long-term borrowings, other long-term liabilities, and long-term provisions. Is it clear? Now, fourth heading is current liabilities, under which 4 subheads are there: A, B, C, and D. First one is short-term borrowing, second one is trade payables, third one is other current liabilities, the fourth one is short-term provisions. Then come to your, please write the total here. Okay, then come to your asset sides. What is the first main heading? That is non-current assets. Under this, fixed assets, and under fixed assets there are 2 subheadings: tangible assets and intangible assets. Students, You have to remember one thing, you have to learn this format. Okay, there's no other option. Learn it as it is. Then non-current investment is there. After that, long-term loans and advances are there. Then other non-current assets are there. And the second main heading of the asset side, that is current assets. Current assets, which consist of current investment, inventories, trade receivable, cash and cash equivalents, short-term loans and advances, and other current assets. So this is the first step. Just write down all the heads and subheads. Just ignore the figures. Okay. Now, one by one, we will prepare working notes. So when you go through your question, what do you find? Let me start with liability sides. Now, students, just see the question. Liability side. What is the first heading? That is sundry creditors. Now, this you have to understand that sundry creditors are the part of trade payables. So, just simply put note number 1, trade payables. Okay, trade payables is divided into two parts, creditors and bills payable. So in place of creditors, you have to write 1 lakh. This is your first figure of the balance sheet. Is it clear? Now, what is the second one? The second one is security premium reserve. Now, security premium reserve will comes under reserves and surplus. So put note number 2, heading reserves and surplus, and under this heading, what you have to write? You have to write security premium amount 50,000. All this you have to done through working note only. Fine. Now come to the third one. What is the third heading? Interest on debentures. Now listen, if interest on debentures has been given in the balance sheet, that means, and on the liability side, that means it is not yet paid. It is unpaid amount. And interest on debentures we have to pay it on regular basis during the current year only. And that is the reason it is a part of current liabilities. Okay. Under the heading other current liabilities. See, note number 3. What you have to write? Other current liabilities. And under other current liabilities, you have to write interest on debentures. Amount is 28,000. Now see the fourth one. The fourth one, it is related to authorized share capital. Remember, this is the most important one. Note number 4. How to find it out? What you have to write? Share capital. Under this, in the question, what is given to you? Authorized share capital. What is the amount of authorized share capital has been given to you? 1,20,000 shares of rupees 10 each. So the total amount will be 12 lakh. Now, issued capital. Under issued capital, subscribed but not fully paid. It is given in the question itself. If you see the question, it is clearly mentioned subscribed capital 80,000. Shares of rupees 10 each, that is equals to 8 lakh. Call in areas, that is 15,000. So here you need not to do any extra working for this. What you have to write? Authorized share capital, issued capital. It has not been given to you, just put it blank. Subscribed but not fully paid up. How much? 80,000 shares of rupees 10 each. So that is equals to how much? 8 lakh. Now what you have to reduce it from? Call in areas, that is also given in the question. 5,000 shares of rupees 3 each, that is equals to 15,000. Now what is the final amount? 7,85,000. Okay, that will comes under share capital. What next? The next one is statement of profit and loss balance. How much? 75,000. So it is a part of reserves and surplus, and we have already given this heading under note 2, reserves and surplus. Security premium we have written earlier 50,000. What else you have to write? Statement of profit and loss. What is the amount? 75,000. Are you getting? Because surplus means profit, and profit will comes under which heading? Reserves and surplus. First of all, you have to write all the reserves, and then you have to write surplus. Fine. After this, 6% debentures has been given to you. 6% debentures. So debentures are the part of long term borrowings. This I have already explained you. So it will comes under the heading long term borrowing. Note 5. Just see note 5. I have explained it one by one. Note 5, long term borrowings, 6% debentures. What is the total amount? 6 lakh. Is it clear? And the last one under this liability side is a bills payable. You just see bills payable is a part of trade payables. I have already explained you. Trade payable consists of two things, creditors and bills payable. So under the heading of the trade payables, you have to write creditors we have already written, and now you have to write bills payable. Okay, so the total amount will be 1,76,000. Fine. Now comes to your asset side. So when you move towards our asset side, so what is the first heading? Cash at bank. So cash at bank is a part of cash and cash equivalents. So you have to give again one note, that is note number 6, cash and cash equivalents. Under this you have to write cash at bank. Cash at bank, it is amounted to 79,800. After that, cash in hand, how much? 1,500. Again, it is a part of cash and cash equivalent, cash in hand, total 1,500. Now, what next? The next one is investments. Investment, when nothing has been mentioned, it is considered as long-term investment, and it is a part of non-current investment. See, note number 7, non-current investment, amount of investment 95,000. What is next? Next one is preliminary expenses. So preliminary expenses, it should be written off from security premium reserve or statement of profit and loss. So that means it's a part of reserves and surplus. So again we will go to our previous heading, reserves and surplus. Under note 2 we have prepared, and from there you have to reduce preliminary expenses. How much? 9,000. What next? Loans and advances to staff. So it is a short term loans and advances, because to staff you can understand employees or laborers who work in any organization. So usually this type of advances of 1 month, 2 months, not more than that, and that is the reason it will comes under short term loans and advances. Amount is 95,000. So short term loans and advances, it's a part of current liabilities. So simply you have to write short term loans and advances to staff, that is equals to 95,000 under note number 8. Then the next one is goodwill. Goodwill is a part of intangible assets. So note number 9 under the heading of intangible assets, you have to write goodwill, that is equals to 50,000. Then next one is building, and that is equals to 6 lakh. So building is a part of tangible assets. So simply you have to put note 10 tangible assets, and under this you have to write what? Building. Amount is 6 lakh. What next? The next one is plant and machinery. And in this plant and machinery, the amount of depreciation is there, 66,000. Okay, so you have to put the final figure. Final figure, that is 5,94,000. Or you can write like this also: plant and machinery 6,60,000 less depreciation 66,000. What next? The next one is inventories, 10,000. Note number 11, what you have to write? Inventories. What is the amount? 10,000. Then debtors. Now this one is important. Listen it very carefully. Debtors are the part of trade receivable. Okay. But here the provision for doubtful debts also given to you in the question. So what you have to do? In debtors, you have to write 1,74,000. Debtors will comes under the heading trade receivable. Note number 12, trade receivable. Trade receivable consists of two things. One is debtors, other is bills receivable. So bills receivable has not been provided to you in the case in the question. So you have to write what? Debtors, that is equals to 1,74,000. Okay. Then where you have to write then provision for doubtful debts. Provision for doubtful debts is a part of short term provisions. Provision for doubtful debts. Why it is a part of short term provision? Because it is created every year, as debtors are the part of routine business, so bad debts is also a part of routine business. So in order to eliminate, in order to secure ourselves from that loss of bad debts, we will make this provision. That is called provision for doubtful debts. So it's a routine basis, and you know that debtors, bad debts, it's a repeating in nature, and that is the reason it will part of a short term provisions. So note number 13 I have written short term provisions and provision for doubtful debts, 8,700. The last one is furniture. Now furniture, what is the amount given? 14,400. Furniture, it's a part of tangible assets because we are able to see it. So under tangible assets, we have already prepared this note. 10 tangible assets, we have to write furniture. How much? 14,400. Now how to put these all in your balance sheet? Now see, what is note number 1? Note number 1 is trade payables. We have already calculated what are the two things, creditors and bills payable. What is the total amount? 1,76,000. So see, we have already drafted the balance sheet, and we know that under current liabilities, second subheading is trade payables. So now in front of that particular heading, you simply have to write note number 1 because we have calculated it through note number 1, and the total amount, that is 1,76,000. Fine. Now comes to note number 2, that is reserves and surplus. Again, this also we have calculated: security premium, reserve, statement of profit and loss less preliminary expenses. So 50 plus 75, that is equals to 1,25,000 minus 9,000, 1,16,000. So under the heading of reserves and surplus, see reserves and surplus, the second heading of shareholder funds, Note number 2, we have to write 1,16,000. Now note number 3, other current liabilities, 28,000. Other current liabilities, the part of current liabilities, heading number 4, heading number 3, other current liabilities. So in other current liabilities you have to write 28,000. No need to explain the things inside the balance sheet. Everything you have to explain through notes only, or you can put directly if only single item is there. Fine. 28,000, note number 3. Now note number 4, we have prepared share capital. See the final figure of share capital. Authorized capital, I have already explained you. Authorized capital is not a part of balance sheet because we have not received it in cash. Issued capital is also not a part of balance sheet. Only subscribed capital is a part of balance sheet. So under subscribed capital, we have received only 7,85,000. 15,000 was call in arrears. So this received amount 7,85,000 we have to put under the heading share capital. Note number 4, 7,85,000. Now, what is the next? Note number 5, long term borrowings. Under this 6% debentures worth rupees 6 lakh was there. Long term borrowing, it's a part of non current liabilities. Long term borrowing, very first heading of non current liabilities. Under this long term borrowing, note number 5, 6 lakh. Here you need not to mention that it is a part of debentures because we have already done it through notes. Now note number 6, cash and cash equivalent. Cash at bank has been given to you 79,800. Cash in hand has been given to you, total amount is 81,300. Cash and cash equivalent, it's a part of current assets. Heading number D, cash and cash equivalent. Through note number 6, what you have to write? 81,300. Then note number 7, non-current investment, 95,000. Non-current investments, it's a part of assets. We've already written all the headings, so it becomes very easy for you just to put the figures. Non-current investment, note number 7, amount is 75,000. Next, that is note number 8, short-term loans and advances. Loans and advances to staff, 95,000. Come back to your balance sheet again. Short-term loans and advances, it will comes under current assets, heading number E, short-term loans and advances. So in front of this, you have to write note number 8 and amount is 95,000. What next? Intangible assets, note number 9. Only one thing is there, goodwill, amount is 50,000. Now you know that intangible assets is a part of fixed assets. Assets, under assets, it's a fixed assets. Under fixed assets, there are two headings, tangible and intangible. So in front of intangible assets, you have to write note number 9 and amount is 50,000. Now, note number 10, that is tangible assets. Building is there, plant and machinery, less depreciation, furniture is there. Get the total of all these 4 headings. The final amount is 12,08,000. So that will be transferred to your balance sheet under the heading tangible assets. See here, tangible assets, note number 10, amount is 12,08,000. Is it clear? Now note number 11, that is inventories, 10,000. Inventory is a part of current assets. Just see the second heading, inventories. So in front of inventories, you have to write note number 11 and the final amount, that is 10,000. Then note number 12, trade receivables. trade receivables consists of two things, debtors and bills receivable. Only one thing has been given to you in the question, that is debtors. So you have to write 1,74,000 under the heading trade receivable. Just see under current assets, heading number 3, trade receivable, note number 12, amount is 1,74,000. Then the final heading, that is note number 13, short term provisions. Under this only one thing is given to you, provision for doubtful debts, amount is 8,700. So this will a part of current liabilities, fourth main heading of the liability side. Just see the last one, subheading D, short term provisions. So in front of that you have to write the amount 8,700 and it is there through note number 13. So you have to mention note number 13 in the front of this short term provisions. Now finally what you have to do, we have to just get the total of it. So that total is 17,13,700. This is the total of your liability sides and then the total of your asset side, that is also equals to 17,13,700. So students, I hope you have understand. Two steps you have to keep in mind. First of all, you have to draft the balance sheet without thinking that which heading is coming or which heading is not coming, which heading is a part of the question and which heading is not a part of the question. Simply you have to draft the entire balance sheet as soon as possible. And one thing I want to clear, that there's a mass for share capital always. So it is very necessary to write each and every heading of the share capital, like authorized share capital, issued capital, subscribed but not fully paid up, or subscribed and fully paid up if given in the question. Thank you.